Gentlemen,
Yo.
I haven't talked to you since last year.
Oh my God.
forever.
Dude, I haven't heard anyone say that to me yet.
What is your New Year's resolution? 1920
Survive
by 1080?
2026. Yeah, yeah. No, I like I do a little more upscale than that.
6K. Actually, Dell has this new monitor they announced at CES that was like, what was it, a 52-inch 6K display? Massive.
Wow.
Very
Basically
nice.
just a giant TV sitting in front of you for the low price of $2,900.
Oh, I was going to guess
Is
higher.
that all?
It's really affordable for that size and for a 6K display. Not bad. And I believe it includes the stand, and you don't have to pay an extra $100 for that.
Ooh.
It's kind of cool because it also has like 2.5 gig Ethernet port on it and whatever 3 or 4 computer like KVM built in. It's impressive. You can use it as a hub for all your computers or whatever that you want to
Nice.
use with it. They just make some awesome monitors. They're not like as color accurate or whatever as some other displays and stuff, but like they're pretty awesome for like a office use case or whatever. But yeah, I saw that this week, the whole CES and the whole week of companies announcing their new AI powered products or whatever. But I think it was Dell was like, yeah, no one's buying laptops because of AI. So we're just going to go back to like the XPS branding, and what people actually want is just, they just want to buy a laptop. They're not buying the laptop because it has AI. Why did we even do that marketing for the last few years? So that's a good sign, I think. I don't need a Copilot button on my keyboard, damn it.
Well, then how am I going to slop up my emails?
Dude.
Oh, wait. Just don't send any.
I'm sure we can all find a way.
I
Thank you
mean,
for myself again, dude. I don't know.
what emails are not slop these days?
Mm.
I have my MX Master mouse. Logitech apparently didn't renew their Apple certificate. So every mouse that requires that just stopped working yesterday. So you had to download, they emailed out like a patched downloader for the software, like the correct certificate now. What in the world is going on? And also, it's one of the things that pisses me off that my mouse doesn't function without that software because they don't have storage for settings built into that mouse. They have it for some of their other mice, like the G502 and whatever. So you can use it without their software, but it's like, seriously? And they're like options plus or whatever. When you open that up, and I believe it's like an Electron app or something stupid, but it's got like all these different smart actions and AI, Logitech AI prompt builder, access ChatGPT directly from where you're working. No more switching tabs. I don't want my mouse or my keyboard to have that stuff. I don't need that. I just would like my mouse to just work as a mouse. So I'm probably looking for an alternative here soon.
It's really funny you say that because I use a MX Vertical and I've used them for years. I love them. And I see
it's like the vertical version of this one or whatever.
Yeah. I saw that email from Logitech about the issue with the app. And then I was like, well, my mouse is still working. But when we got into the Zoom call, I have one of my buttons like bound to mute when I'm in Zoom. And that wasn't working. And as you started telling that story, I was literally trying to like update the app in the background. They're like, oh, but you have to restart your system for this to work. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yep. I just linked you because somebody on Reddit was talking about this. Keychron, which I really like their mechanical keyboards. Apparently they have a whole bunch of mice now. One is the M5, which is kind of like the Logitech vertical one that you've got, but their version of it. And then they also have the M6, which is kind of like the MX Master equivalent. And those all have settings built into the device, which is awesome. So I was like, man, I'm going to have to go buy one of these and try them out instead, just to maybe get off that nonsense. But they have like all kinds of cool stuff. Like their keyboards and whatever for Keychron are all, what is that software, like QMK or whatever?
Yeah, I know
They
you're
got
talking about.
Hall
I don't know
Effect.
the name.
Hall effect magnetic switches. Yeah, I think it's QMK. They got hot swappable like keys and everything. The switches, they've like went from, I don't remember what year it was, but they had like, hey, we're going to make a mechanical keyboard that's wireless. And that was like a freaking, what was it? Kickstarter. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Because most of them were all wired back in the day. And now they have like, I don't know, 50 or 75 or 100 different like keyboard options, which is wild. They just keep coming up with different versions and apparently now mice. So
Nice. I've always heard good things
try
about
one of
their
these.
hardware.
Yeah, I've got 3 or 4 Keychron keyboards laying around my office here and they're great. I love them.
So did everyone upgrade to Ruby 4 yet?
Yeah. I didn't have any issues. Common Marker was not updated until just the other day, which does markdown rendering to HTML. And I believe that was just because it's like got C bindings or whatever. And they like use Rust or whatever to do the actual, Ruby wrapper for Rust ComRack crate. So basically it's using like a Rust library to do the actual rendering of Markdown. It was one thing that was holding some of our apps, Go Rails, that use Markdown rendering. I can't remember what else we had. Somebody else in Discord mentioned some other couple gems, but for the most part, like it wasn't any major changes. It was just kind of a 30th anniversary, more or less. So it was like, let's bump up a major version for the 30th anniversary, which I think was a
What's
good
the
call.
scheduled releases, right?
Yeah, but I think it was going to be a Ruby 3.5 before, and they were like, well, it is the 30th anniversary, so we'll jump to Ruby 30.0.
It's going to trigger my Semver issues, but
It's like when Pagey went from 9 to 43.
43.
dude, they had an opportunity to go to 6.7. They didn't even know it.
Yeah. 2026, 2027.
Let's not do that again.
Did you get updated to 4.0?
No, we upgraded to 3.4.8 and we're working on the 4.0 now. I think there's a few gems holding us back.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if there were a handful. For the most part, it was like super easy because there was not any real breaking changes, which is good. But I can see some of the internals if they're extensions or whatever. Like,
but also they're clamping the Ruby version in the gem, which I did a upgrade for a dependency today that was like remove the requirement for Ruby being below 4, and I'm like, why do you have that?
Yeah, I've always wondered that, where it's like, if there's explicitly an issue with it, then okay. But otherwise, I see no reason to lock it to a specific version. It's like, if your gem supports Rails 8.1, then like, don't lock it down to 8.1, because then people can't run it with Rails main, which will be on the next version.
A minimum version lock, but not a maximum.
Yeah, in general, unless there's a real reason to do a maximum version where you're like, actually, we can't fix this, or we have to do some major internal refactoring or something to support the next version, I wouldn't mind having a maximum lock, but generally I would leave it open because it's like, ideally, I'm testing my gems with appraisal anyways against Rails main. So as long as I update that periodically, like it's testing the next version. So it should be safe as long as that passes. So I would ideally do it that way. Because man, how many times there's a new version of Rails and you have like, you go around through your gems and there's like 15 gems that the PR is like, relax the version maximum so that we can use it against the brand new version of Rails. And that doesn't get merged for a month or something. So then you're running somebody's fork or their
your
branch
own
of
fork.
it or your own. Yeah. And then like it's just a single commit to change that one gem spec line. And it's like, was that really necessary? Did it really protect anybody? I don't know. In theory, that gem should be tested against the new Rails main or whatever anyways. So that's my argument for it. When your app breaks in production, you want to quickly understand and fix it, not sift through the logs for the next hour. That's where Honeybadger comes in. Honeybadger notifies you of errors, outages, and performance issues as they occur and helps you respond instantly when your systems go down. When you need to dig deeper, Honeybadger's advanced query engine helps you reach into your logs and grab just the information you need. With error tracking, performance and uptime monitoring, log management, and support for over 10 languages, Honeybadger is the best tool to gain real-time insights into your application's health and performance. Best of all, it's free to get started and setup takes less than 5 minutes. Be sure to bookmark honeybadger.io. That's www.honeybadger.io.
I'm going to open up PRs next time we do a big Rails release. And every time I get to a gem that has one of those locks, I'm just going to submit a PR with a CI suite for appraisal.
Yeah, I feel like that should just be a default or something when you create a new Rails plugin or just a gem in general. It feels almost like appraisal should be a feature built into Bundler where you could define these sort of, because there's some interesting stuff of like our appraisals for pay and notice and whatever have Rails 7, 7.1, 8.1, 8.2 or Rails main or whatever. But some of them are testing against, for example, SQLite. So with SQLite, I'm stuck with 1.17 for Rails 7. And then when you get to Rails 8, you can use the latest version of SQLite or whatever. So you have to be able to override gems. Sometimes you also need to remove gems from different appraisals or add gems or whatever. So appraisal has those cool tools to pull that off. But Bundler really in general is just like, hey, give me the gem file. It doesn't have those tools to like take this gem file, modify it for this different test suite. But it feels like it wouldn't be that hard for Bundler to support that. And that would be awesome if it was built in, because I think it would just simplify stuff. Because the other thing is like those changes to Bundler over time, where the flag is like bundle update -- all or whatever. Appraisal has to then make sure they support the flags and whatever that they pass along. At the end of the day, really my CI is just specifying bundle gem file environment variable. I'm not actually using appraisal in CI. I'm just using it to generate the gem files for me. So it's kind of, it could just be built in almost. Maybe that's a good PR for somebody to do. If somebody on the Bundler team would accept that or whatever, be cool.
Is there still a Bundler team?
I don't really know the state of how all that, it's been quiet for a while and I don't know what happened with all that. There was all the arguing at the time, but now it's kind of been silent and no clear, like, here's where things stand. At least from what I've seen, I maybe missed something.
We moved on to the next outrage. No, I have no idea.
David, you hear anything about those resolutions?
No, I was temporarily distracted by a dog wandering into my yard, wondering if the owner was going to pick up its poop. So I lost track of the conversation.
Fair.
Yeah, you know, he was getting ready to go throw it at the owner.
Dude, we've had some issues in the neighborhood related to that.
Issues in the hood.
Dude,
that's the title of this episode.
I heard grown-ass man call a woman the C word and then her threaten to throw a bag of dog crap in his face. And as soon as I walked outside, dude's energy just deflated and he went back inside. And she was like, did you hear him call me that? I'm like, I sure did. I came out here because no one yells that without bad intention.
Witnesses.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So what are we talking about?
Yeah, dog poop. That's what this episode's about.
We were asking if you had heard anything after the Ruby core team took over the Ruby Gems code. If anything else shaken from that.
I wish I was in any kind of a position to have heard anything, but no. all of my attempts to get closer to the situation have failed. When they opened up applications for new board members, I applied for that. I got the response email a couple of weeks ago that I was out of consideration. I think he posted just yesterday, I think Brandon Weaver is going to be one of the new board members, which I thought was really exciting to see that. I think he's been one of the more openly critical of Ruby Central, but in constructive ways, people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that from what I remember seeing on social.
Yeah. So yeah, having him on board as a board member, I think is really cool. That it's like he's putting his money where his mouth is, where it's like, yeah, there are problems. Let's actually work on it and try and make this better.
Yeah, I think I saw Rand Craycraft from Thoughtbot also is joining the board or something. I don't know if there was any actual announcement from Ruby Central yet.
Yeah, I looked and didn't see one yet. They announced a gala, which is an interesting choice. And they didn't release a whole lot of info about it, just that it's going to be a thing that exists, which is also an interesting choice. But
did you say a gala, like GALA?
Yeah.
Like a dance? Or like a black tie event where we give them donations?
Black tie fundraiser dinner type thing is what I'm imagining. Okay. I don't know.
Mm-mm.
You would have to drug me to get me into a black tie.
But again, it's like they announced it, that it's going to be a thing, and didn't really provide much else in the way of information on what that's going to be.
I can't wait for everyone go find your prom date. Just like high school all over again.
Hell no. I lived
Yeah.
through that once. I don't need to do it again.
I'm good off that.
Yeah. I hope that some stuff gets resolved and things can move forward. It's been nice that it's been quiet.
Quiet?
But
Well, that's been quiet. Everything else in the world is not quiet.
no.
I mean, that's where we can transition into the Tailwind conversation, because that's like the latest outrage.
That one blew up a lot more than I expected it to yesterday. It was 700 some comments on the Hacker News post about it, and every tweet that I went to, like the For You tab on Twitter, was just full of it. And it's like, so basically Tailwind started as an open source project that really took off, and Adam and Steve Shoger and their team basically like started making stuff to monetize the audience they had got, which was awesome. Like did refactoring UI, Tailwind Plus, their components and themes and all the stuff that is part of Tailwind Plus now. It's like a handful of other things as well. But they were all kind of a one-time purchase. And at the time when Tailwind was blowing up and was growing, I mean, it's still growing, but it's kind of hit a saturation point, I think, where everybody's kind of heard of Tailwind and considered it and either decided to use it or not. But it's hit like a point of saturation now where there are always newcomers to development and whatever, but the business, they don't have subscriptions. So they've got to sell to new people all the time. And it's just not sustainable, as it turns out. And like his podcast, the latest one, worth listening to, but he was bummed out because he was doing the numbers and was like, actually, things are way worse than I thought they were. And we're going to run out of money in 6 months. And so he realized he had to lay off 3 of 4 people on his team and use that to hopefully salvage the business for as long as possible to keep them afloat, to continue working on Tailwind. And it's just this weird moment of the industry where it's like, part of it is there's not a great business model. Like, what are you going to pay Tailwind for on a recurring basis? Like, you pay them for design advice or something.
I think
it's like,
doesn't Tailwind Plus, where I only know from Tailwind UI, but Tailwind Plus, isn't it like you can pay the initial price, but in order to get updates to it, you have to get a different tier, or you have to pay for the new ones? That's how it used to be.
You get free updates.
Okay.
It's been that way since the beginning.
Oh,
and I bought it back then And that's the problem is like, the thing is they'd have to
There's no recurring
constantly,
revenue. It's a one time.
It's also like what they're offering is not constantly changing, right? So like there's not recurring value out of it. It's not like you show up and there's 100 new components this month or 30 components or even one new component this month. Or if there is, you may or may not care about it. So it doesn't really even have that recurring value to be worth charging a subscription for or whatever. I think that was something he had talked about too in the past, is like, it doesn't feel right for us to charge a subscription to access this stuff, because what if you don't use it and you just used it for a month or two? You're just going to cancel. So it's effectively the same as a one-time purchase almost. You just like maybe pay for 3 months, and that might actually be less than the $300 you would pay one time. You may end up paying $60 because you only pay for 3 months of $20 a month or something. And yeah, it sucks because it's like all of the AI tools are generating Tailwind code because it's kind of what they're all trained on and stuff. And so they've got the craziest amount of downloads they've ever had, the lowest amount of traffic to their site and documentation, because AI doesn't need that. It just generates the end result for you. And that was their way of getting you to the docs to get you to the products, at least hopefully, in order to sustain the business. And so it's an interesting time where it's like, there's no moat. Like they don't have a moat anymore, because it used to be, we made this framework. You have to come to us to understand how to use it and keep up to date with it and whatever. But now you don't have that. And it's all open source. So AI can generate the end result for you, and you don't need us anymore. And how do they get paid to continue improving it? And somebody also said like Tailwind 4 is so good and so well designed that it's kind of a, what are you even going to do? What's Tailwind 5? There's no like major flaws that you can easily spot where you're like, it actually does almost everything I need perfectly now. So like, what are you even going to improve? And I was like, that's an interesting point too. It's like,
Well, I mean,
you know,
CSS features are going to come out.
Yeah, but like they're going to be small things. They're not coming out very fast. They're always kind of starting styles and whatever other little things that make animations easier now for modals and whatever, but they're not anything major either. So it's kind of a strange place too, where like Tailwind's in such a good place that you don't need a ton of new improvements to it all the time. So there's less incentive to also like contribute to it or whatever for their continued development. So yeah, this all kind of started because Adam did the podcast episode. He posted on a request, a PR to add an LLMs.txt file to like their docs. And he was kind of like, the truth is like, this doesn't help our business. We need to salvage the company so we can continue working on this. And I don't want this to end up being, adding this feature is a little bit of a conflict of interest because it helps people even further less depend on us. And we're not trying to accelerate ourselves going out of business. We'd like to keep making the world's most popular CSS framework for you, but we need to get paid to do that. And it's just a strange thing. Strange times. People have suggested build an MCP server and we'll just, you can teach the LLMs the way you would do things. And it's like, you know what? The LLMs are just going to index that stuff and you won't need the MCP server. Or you can just provide your own documentation or whatever. Like people are not going to actually pay for that. It's just hyped right now. That's the cool thing. And like developers are very finicky about paying for things in general anyways. So it's like, I don't see that working out. And you would need, if it's $10 a month, as most of the suggestions seemed, people aren't going to pay for that. It's also $10. You need how many thousands of people paying for that consistently in order to have those salaries for developers? You're going to need to pay for those 3 people that's probably a minimum, say 200,000 per person, including taxes and healthcare and whatever else. So their take home is going to be less than that. And then 200,000 means how many subscriptions for $10 a month? Ridiculous. And you need 3 of those. And the math doesn't math for that. It's not going to be profitable enough. So yeah, lots of people were like, oh, it's just a simple thing. You're doing it wrong. It's like nobody has got any suggestions on how to make it sustainable. I think that's the biggest problem. And then we're going to be in that exact same boat with GoRails at some point where it's like, hey, if the AI can generate code directly in your application, why would you go watch a tutorial? And why do you need to learn it? The AI has learned it for you. So we will be in the exact same position sooner than later, I'm sure. Lettercast also laid off Simon for the same kind of reasons. Basically, why watch Lettercasts and follow those tutorials when you could just have the LLM do stuff directly in your app the way you want it, and it can revise it and yada yada. Whereas you got to translate the video and that approach to what your specific needs are, which are almost always different. And it just saves a bunch of trouble and hassle. So yeah, that's an interesting future that we live in.
Imagine the last time you had to deal with request timeouts or backed up job queues in your prod environment. Frustrating, right? Here's what that means. You're either not autoscaling or your autoscaler is not doing its job, because autoscaling is supposed to prevent scenarios like this. That's why we built JudoScale. JudoScale is the autoscaler that works for Heroku, Render, Fly, and AWS. With JudoScale, you'll smoothly handle traffic spikes while dramatically lowering your hosting costs. Do you want a rock-solid production environment? Visit judoscale.com/remote-ruby to learn more.
I linked a specific comment from that issue you mentioned, but Adam was saying that traffic to the docs site is down 40% from 2023, despite Tailwind being more popular than ever, and their revenue down close to 80%. That's a large drop in revenue.
80%'s nuts.
No, 80% is wild. So, dude, it's his project, bro. He can do what he wants with it.
Yeah, that's the thing that really stands out to me in one of these articles I was looking at, was that when he pushed back and said, no, we're not doing that because that doesn't help us, and it got all kinds of backlash for it. Apparently, the quote in the article I'm looking at says it's a very open source, unfriendly attitude, basically. It's just like, that's his open source project. He's under no obligation to do it the way any other person wants it to be done. That's the definition of open source project.
Yeah.
If he can't fix the project, it's going to become unmaintained abandonware
is what he called it.
So,
yeah, it sucks.
I mean, he's got a family to feed.
Yeah. And so do his whole co-founders and employees. And it's a lot of responsibility. Yeah. Imagine that the largest CSS framework going to the point where it's no longer maintained. Then you have all the LLMs trained on it, but yet it's going to just end up with bugs and stuff over time. But if nobody's working on it, then that's not good for the LLMs and their businesses either. And I think several people were saying Vercel and Anthropic and whatever else, they should buy Tailwind or the Tailwind business and fund it themselves or something. And maybe that's how things have to go to make that kind of thing sustainable, to pay people to work on it full time. Because at least those LLMs have the recurring value, so they can afford, they have a better business model that matches the usage of it. And that's the thing that's maybe if Adam was building Figma or some design tool or something that you paid recurring for, and it generated the Tailwind code for you at the end of the day based on your designs, then it would have a better match between the business model and the actual open source project, because it would align better. But the sort of components, the templates, the books are just not a long-term, or they're a good business, but they're a small business. They're not a sustainable thing in the long term, or they could support one person or two people for the long term, maybe, but just not at the scale. They just cannot grow to the scale that's really they used to have.
I can make a massive argument for Vercel buying it, like at least sponsoring it in a big way, because they have an entire, like their V0 project, all it does is generate Tailwind code. Like all their templates are mostly Tailwind. Like they are deep into Tailwind.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're the ones probably, I would gander a lot of the reason, like a lot of, like it's gotten so big into the LLMs. All the Next.js code is like, it uses Tailwind usually by the default. So
yeah, such a bummer in a way. There was hope. And I think a lot of people, including myself, were inspired by like his story of like, yeah, I made a open source project and turned it into a pretty successful business. But the problem is it wasn't a sustainable thing. And most people didn't think about that. Adam was, because he was living it. But from the outside, it's kind of like, yeah, he's killing it. He's doing great. And it'll be that way forever because you're not really invested in it as an outsider. Somebody on Twitter mentioned me in the conversation and was like, Adam, maybe you should talk to Chris about how he does Go Rails and Jumpstart. And it's like, ours are subscriptions, but they suffer from the exact same issues here. Like, we're not in any better position than he is. We're not selling them as one-time purchases, but people are churning from Go Rails because, I watched videos. Same thing with Jumpstart. It's like, I could just ask AI to build accounts and billing and whatever else for me. You may have to go through and do a bunch of...
It's not going to work, but...
like you may have to deal with a whole bunch of edge cases manually and whatever. And the funny part with that is like, you're going to spend your $200 a month on your subscription. And it's like, well, you could have just started with what we've got for $150 or $249 or whatever. Depends on what you're buying, but that's a better starting place. And you can have it trained up on our code base and then just skip that stuff and be even faster. So like, it's not totally logical, but most developers still want to like do it their own way. So that's, I feel like, part of the finickiness of selling to developers in general. But yeah, the thing that sucks is there's no obvious like way forward. Basecamp is the thing that Rails can rely upon. And so it's not, well, in Shopify and the other contributors that are companies that are, employing the core team and stuff, they are not relying on Rails being successful for their success. They have a product that's independent and totally separate. That's one of the big benefits to how that's set up. Rather than you made the open source project, now let's see if we can turn it into a business and make it sustainable. It's the other way around. Like, we had a business and now we're going to make some open source stuff and share that. It is inherently a safer foundation. You're working on concrete instead of sand or whatever. It's different.
Yeah.
But
you've already found a product market fit. You're already generating recurring revenue, and then you're contributing back to the open source foundation. That's the ideal way to make it renewable.
It's just independent, and you still have to be able to carve out time to contribute to the open source stuff. What's going to be interesting to watch, though, is like Laravel as a framework is a business. So the way they've figured it out is Laravel Cloud and Laravel Forge and Vapor are their three hosting platforms. And they have Nightwatch, which is their like monitoring service. They have turned the framework into, well, why would we just send everybody over to Heroku when we could build our own Heroku and it would be trusted by the maintainers of the framework? So
because they built it.
You think they're going to be pretty good at it? You bet your butt. That is such an obvious way of doing things that should be sustainable, because I want to deploy my Laravel app. Well, Taylor built this. I should probably just use that. I'm not even going to question whether or not I should go somewhere else. I'm just going to use that, unless it's really something where I'm like penny pinching, like, oh, I could save a few dollars doing it myself or whatever.
But you're only going to think that if you've already done it a million times and you're going through it the first time, you're probably just going to do the mainline experience.
Probably. And it's still super affordable. Like Forge and everything is very affordable. So it's a cool way to look at it, where it's like they're willing to build that kind of stuff. In Rails, we don't have that because Basecamp is already too good. They're focused on that, and they will be focused on that for their lifetime because that's their sustainable thing. They figured it out.
Yeah.
And same with Shopify and GitHub and Microsoft and other companies that are contributing to Rails and whatever. Like they've got some external thing. So we don't need that in our community, but it also makes opportunity for people in the community. So you can have a Hatchbox, a Sidekick, any cable, littler products that are commercialized by other people in the community, which is great. Like it gives more opportunity because right now, if you're in Laravel, if it's not an official Laravel product, then it's like, well, it's not going to be as good if it's from some third party or something, or it will eventually feel that way probably. But
I had an AI suggest that I use Hatchbox for hosting my Rails app the other day.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
They gave me like
I've
3 or
wondered
4
about
options, and Hatchbox is one of them.
I've really wondered about that, where like, what do they call it? It's not SEO, geo. Is that it? There's some like other term for like ranking in ChatGPT responses and stuff, like optimizing for that. So that's an interesting thing. I've not looked into it much yet. As a marketing thing, it makes a lot of sense to try and optimize for those things. If you can get, I don't know if it stems from writing on blog posts or Reddit or whatever, so that's the stuff that, I don't know if you have to write content so that it gets indexed by the LMs a lot in order to get your geo or whatever optimization. No idea, but
it's geo is the thing you pass on your way to jail without collecting $200.
What else is new?
Who knows? Just trying to get back into the swing of things. I didn't open my laptop for like half a month, and now I'm like, how does code work? And I'm having to remember all this stuff that I did apparently at the end of last year.
You don't need to. You just say, hey, Claude, do my job for me.
Well, I actually got pulled into a meeting the other day because Jason was like, hey, you wrote this feature at the end of last year, and we had Claude try to explain it, and we just
Claude was like, what the hell is this?
It was way off on what it thought it was. Once I explained, he's like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. He's like, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
I had...
So what you're saying is AIs are not going to replace us quite yet.
I mean, some companies have been pulling back a little bit.
I mean, next year, we're done for.
Yeah, probably. I wouldn't be surprised.
The 2026-7 transition?
That's where things get dangerous, dude.
Hopefully that's still a thing by then.
I hope not. I think we've already moved on from it. I think now it's over.
Probably already is. We're at that age where like we'll find out about it after it's not cool.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. The fact that everyone knows about it now, like South Park did an episode on it, parents all know about it now. I think it's done.
You guys heard about Bitcoin?
Yeah. That's what I'm going to be doing this year.
I remember
creating scam coins.
I can't remember when exactly it was, but I very clearly remember visited my parents and they were like, have you heard about Bitcoin? I was like, oh God. So those moments definitely happen. I'm trying to think of anything else that I did recently. There's a couple interesting things I can think of. One was, for the longest time in Hatchbox, we generated like the default Rails process, just running like bundle exec Puma, because Puma will grab I think it does the config.ru or whatever, which then loads Rails. but somebody went to deploy Fizzy to Hatchbox, and Fizzy has in the puma.rb file, it references the Fizzy class. And because that was written with Rails in mind, like running bin Rails server, it has a different load order. So like if you go through bundle exec puma, it's just going to load your gem file, require all those packages. Then it's going to start Puma, and Puma is going to read config.puma or config puma.rb. But if you go through the bin Rails route, it actually will go and like run that little script. Then it will run bundle setup, and it will have modified the load path before that. And then it eventually will start Puma. So having loaded changed the load paths and had Zitework set up and stuff, it's actually able to reference Fizzy in your puma.rb file. And that was like a little nuance to Rails that I never even really knew was a thing. Typically, I'm not doing something custom in my Puma config like that. And I've seen it like very rarely on Hatchbox and help somebody debug it, which was usually like, just require that file or whatever, just to guarantee it exists and it has been loaded. But that was something I discovered recently. It was like, oh, yeah, this is good to know. It's like not a big deal either way you go about booting your Rails server. But if you do run into one of those like seemingly weird situations, that's exactly what's happening. And this week I helped somebody debug basically the same problem, but it was, you know, the old error of like, you've required a logger in your application and it's using the one built into Ruby, which is like 143, but your gem file is 170. And it was pretty much that same thing where like the boot.rb file in Rails had a require logger right before bundle setup was the next line of code. So what it was doing was it was requiring logger from the built-in default gem in Ruby, which was 143 because he was on an older version of Ruby. Then bundler runs and is like, hey, you also said to use logger, but these versions don't match. It's already been required, so we don't need to require it. We're just going to verify that the versions are correct, and they're not. And he was confused with that and like asking ChatGPT about it and whatever. And it was funny because he was like, I went and changed from bin Rails server to bundle exec Puma, and that fixed the issue. And I was like, that's exactly right, because bundle exec is going to evaluate the gem file before it starts Puma, before it starts Rails. So that require logger is only going to require the one from your gem file because you used bundle exec. But bin Rails server does it out of order and it doesn't load bundler first. And that was one of those moments where it's like some sort of esoteric random knowledge I have now from working on Hatchbox and seeing thousands and thousands of applications and their weird little quirks here and there. But it's kind of awesome once you start to understand those things where like I've seen it in the past and just Googled it and been like, what the hell is bundler complaining about? It's some weird thing. I don't understand it. But if we change this line of code or whatever and commit it to the repo, boom, we're done. And maybe later it bites you in the butt. But I was like, that's kind of a useful thing to understand. It's like, just run these commands out of habit. And that's what you see documented places. But the reality of it is like knowing those little nuances too. If you use bundle exec, bundler is going to require stuff in the gem file before it executes Puma. And that doesn't necessarily happen in the same order if you use bin Rails server. So that was kind of a fun one that I ran into this week.
That's actually good to know.
Yeah. I felt like really good about it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where this sort of magical steps of booting an application, that's kind of how Rails figures it out, bundler figures it out. And that's about as deep as my knowledge used to be. And I was kind of okay with that, but I always felt bad not really knowing. And now you can just feel good that you're like, I get it. This isn't wizardry. It's actually pretty straightforward.
Well, I spent the last 2 weeks basically just playing Arc Raiders. So that's what I've been doing. And I've been having so much fun. But now I literally hear sounds in my sleep. When I'm trying to sleep, I can hear sounds from the game. And I'm just like, I am a Raider, dude.
I have not played it, but I've seen lots of people talking about it.
It's so much fun.
What's the style of game?
It's PvEVP. So it's player
B
versus
to B to C.
Yeah. It's player versus environment in the sense that everyone lives underground now because the surface of the earth is covered with these things called arcs, which are these AI robots. Some of them fly, some of them run, some of them roll.
Damn it, AI.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But there's
also
also
living in that future soon.
dude. Yeah, you're right. But there's a ton of loot on the surface, right? In boxes and stuff. So the whole point of the game is you go up topside and then you get your loot, or you do quests or missions or whatever, and then you extract, you go back, you have to get out and go back down. And if you miss like a certain, and the extraction points are closing, like they close at different times throughout the map. And at the very end, there's a final extraction. If you're not on that to get out, the whole world basically blows up. And then there's a component of PvP where like you don't have to do any of what I just described. You can literally just spawn in and kill players and go about your business. But they have some aggression-based matchmaking. So if you're generally peaceful, you'll get placed in generally peaceful lobbies. And if you're generally aggressive, you will get placed in generally aggressive lobbies.
I can imagine you're in the generally aggressive lobbies.
I was until I started playing with Drew, and now I'm in the generally peaceful ones. He's not a slime artist like me. Like I'm trying to blow people down, and he's like, no.
Let people play their game, Andrew.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was Steam Deck verified.
Yeah.
I might have to pick it up then.
I think
if I can't play it on my Steam Deck, I like probably won't play it.
Drew plays it on his Mac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. It only has the Windows logo on Steam.
Oh, I think he does this thing where he like logs into like a virtual machine or a host or something. I can't remember the name.
Yeah.
But he like plays them through like a VM almost on his Mac.
Well, I have trouble like if I can't play for just 5 minutes or something, like with the two kids right now, at least at their age, makes it tough. But at some point they're going to want to play video games, and then I'll have an excuse to play stuff like this all the time.
Yeah.
It might just be
3
Fortnite,
separate
sadly.
consoles.
No, we're not doing that crap. I'm going to do
How can we have a
PCs.
LAN party if we don't all have separate consoles?
We're going to do PCs. That's not
Okay.
not going to be
$3 million RAM.
Well, yeah, I was going to say if we can afford the RAM for them.
Anyone got any RAM?
Kids are going to have some hand-me-downs.
Yeah, hand-me-down
DDR3.
RAM. Hand-me-down RAM is crazy.
We'll just go salvage computers and see what we can do.
So that's what I'm up there doing at Arc, dude. I'm up there salvaging computer parts.
Yeah, now your Apple tax for the RAM upgrades is just average pricing now. So
Yeah.
Why does that not make me feel any better?
Nothing about what's happening in this current year should make you feel better.
I'm hoping Apple still drops the new studio display this year. Still holding out on that.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone would buy that. So
doing it.
expensive.
Apparently, Chris is going to.
I'm doing
I know
it.
Chris is, but for what?
Well, I have these two 4K displays, but they're Mac OS is not really designed for 4K. It's like 5K and up. And the 5K displays on the market are not terrible, but like they're all pretty old and haven't really got new ones. Asus has like a new Pro Art display or something. I don't know. We'll see. It just sucks because like you can't go see them in person. And so it's like you could buy something and you're like, actually, the colors are way inaccurate or whatever. And it's just kind of a pain in the butt to like go shopping for monitors and stuff unless you can actually see them. So I don't know. It makes it tough to buy. I feel like I want something just as nice as my old iMac that used to be my main computer and middle monitor, and then I just had the like crappier ones on the side because I don't care if they're as bad because they're on the side. That's not my main display. I just want a nice main display, but I just want to spend $1,000 for a stand. That's what I'm trying to get at.
I understand. Well,
yep.
I've got stuff to do. So I've got tickets and work.
Open source to monetize.
Yeah, I've got crypto scams to start and options to sell.
Peaceful Arc Raider servers to destroy.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, I have gotten gunned down in the back twice in the past 2 days, and that aggression has been building inside me.
You should see if you can convert a server from being peaceful to not peaceful.
Hey, dude, it only takes one guy,
like
right?
the whole thing. Yeah.
One guy with a bad attitude.
I love it.
They're all hunting Andrew now.
I hope so. I wish they'd try. As long as I know they're coming, like, you shoot me in the back, what am I going to do about that? Anyway.
Oh.